Welcome to Okay, I've Got Some Thoughts, where I offer up some Ole Miss takes colder than a plate of Abner's chicken tenders in the Grove on a Saturday. As always, I'm Chandler, I'm the resident running out the clock Ole Miss beat writer, or whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to give you some thoughts on the Ole Miss Louisiana Monroe game, and then kind of turn into look forward to see what the rest of the season might hold. Last week I said that this season for Ole Miss is no longer about wins and losses. It's about showing progress. It's about finding anything that you can find to give the fans some hope for the future. And, with the caveat that this was just Louisiana Monroe, who is terrible. I think Ole Miss achieved that goal on Saturday. And I feel weird kind of saying that because I typically am probably more the glass half empty, pessimistic fan when it comes to the direction that my team is headed, but I think Ole Miss really achieved the goal of showing some progress on Saturday. I've got to reiterate, this is Louisiana Monroe. There's absolutely no chest pounding here about the defense turning some kind of corner or the offense figuring out its issues. There's still some big questions involved there, especially as the talent Ole Miss plays against is not going to be any worse than what it was on Saturday with Louisiana Monroe. But the thing that Ole Miss did really well was they took care of a team that they should have taken care of. They put up 70 points and then held them to really 14 points on offense, and only one of those touchdowns came, in any sort of meaningful, the first half, any sort of meaningful time or anything like that. There was never really any point where Louisiana Monroe was in the game, and that's progress. After getting absolutely blown out by Alabama and LSU and then struggling mightily with Southern Illinois and Kent State, Ole Miss really, really needed this. They really needed to be able to go out and get a convincing win where the other team was never in the game, and some of the young guys and the backups got a lot of good looks in the second half. And there definitely was some hope for the future on display. Much has been made about what the Rebels will look like in 2019. There's a lot of concern going forward, especially considering you lose A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf, DeMarcus Lodge, Jordan Ta'amu, Greg Little, even going down the line with, say, Sean Rawlings and a Javon Patterson. You lose a lot from this team, but we finally got to see Matt Corral get an extended look, and he looked really good. He was 10 for 10 for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air, and he added another 6 carries for 78 yards and a touchdown. And on his 2 touchdown passes, he threw to guys that he is going to be able to play with again next year. He connected with Elijah Moore, who's a freshman, and I think that there's some potential there with Elijah Moore's speed and Matt Corral's arm strength. There's some potential there for Elijah Moore and Matt Corral being a pretty common household name duo, and then he threw another touchdown pass to Scotty Phillips, who is going to be probably the focal point of next year's offense. And so that was an exciting thing to see, I think, for Ole Miss fans in that game, as they, like I said, took care of business, and then also got a taste of the future. On the other side of the ball, you got to see Keydron Smith, Charikius Tisdale, and Cavante Ruggs make a lot of plays, and that's got to be exciting because those are 3 first-year guys who, really Tisdale wasn't even expected to be on campus until kind of the last minute. So the fact that he's contributing at all is pretty impressive on his part. And Keydron Smith, I know, is a guy that the Ole Miss coaches really like a lot. Cavante Ruggs is a guy who I think Ole Miss can kind of see building their defense around as he gains experience and puts on a little weight. You've also got, Jaquez Jones and Momo Sonogo, some young guys who stepped up and made a lot of plays. The Rebel defense forced a couple of turnovers. They racked up 5 sacks. They got 11 tackles for loss. And again, those are baseline expectations for what you would expect with an SEC program, SEC team taking on an obviously outmanned Sunbelt squad. And so again, there are no great "the problems are fixed" proclamations or anything like that. But in a way, it was chicken soup for the Ole Miss fan soul to just go out and see the defense do what it should do. They played a very good bend but don't break game, which is kind of, I think, the best chance or the best thing that Ole Miss can offer on defense, and they did it. And so it was nice to see them do what they needed to do. So there's not really a lot else you can take from that game. I mean, obviously, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, DeMarcus Lodge, those guys were every bit the players that you would have expected them to be in that game. Jordan Ta'amu played very well. I've already mentioned Scotty Phillips, but he also played well. You got some glimpses, I think, from Isaiah Woolard, who broke off a good long run. And, Isaiah's probably not a guy who's going to be a feature back, but he definitely is a guy who can get you some hard-nosed yards and can spell, a Scotty Phillips or whoever the starter is. And he's really done a great job of kind of grabbing hold of that backup role. And as a Mississippi Association of Independent Schools, it's MPSA for life, Mississippi Private School Association. But whatever, very few people who listen to this are going to probably get that. But it was nice to see a fellow Mississippi private school product, play well and then kind of really cement himself as the number 2 running back. So with that in mind, Ole Miss now turns to Arkansas. Now, if you know me at all, which I don't know, maybe you do, maybe you don't. If you know me at all, you know that hyperbole is basically my second language. I love hyperbole. I love speaking in hyperbole. Everything is either the best thing ever or it's the worst thing ever. And I don't know, it's just fun. It's fun to talk that way. But I don't think I'm being hyperbolic when I say that this game coming up against Arkansas is going to be the biggest game of Matt Luke's career. So far, Ole Miss has held serve from last year in the SEC. They got blown out by Alabama and LSU last year, got blown out by Alabama and LSU this year. But if you remember, last year, Ole Miss jumped out to a massive lead against Arkansas. Ole Miss scored 31 points in the first half and jumped out to a 21-7 lead before Ole Miss only scored 6 points in the second half, and Arkansas won the game 38-37. This is the first real opportunity that Matt Luke and his staff have to say, hey, guys, look, we know we're on a long road, but here's some tangible evidence of improvement. The Rebels really, really need a strong showing Saturday night in Little Rock because, honestly, a win opens the door for a ton of possibilities. If the Rebs can beat Arkansas, you get a much-needed conference win, which those are always good. You get a much-needed road win, again, always good. And, we're 6 games into the season now, and I feel like we've got a pretty good taste of who Vanderbilt is, who South Carolina is, who Auburn is, and who Mississippi State is. And so you can come out of Saturday at 5-2, which is a big deal. 1-2 in the SEC, and you're looking at those 4 games, all 4 of those being winnable. I think Texas A&M is probably still a bridge too far. Who knows? We'll see. But if you can get 2 or 3 of Vanderbilt, South Carolina, which is at home, Auburn, which is at home, and Mississippi State, which is at home, if you can get 2 of those 4 games, you've put together a 7-5 season. And if you could somehow get to 3 of them, which is not likely, but it's not unheard of, you could reasonably see an 8-win season for Ole Miss, which at this particular time would be, I think, massive overachievement and would be something that you can really sell to the fan base. You can restore some confidence. You can have something to sell to fans and recruits, and then what you turn around having is if you beat Arkansas, you have a lot of confidence going into a game against a very vulnerable but likely still ranked Auburn team the week after. So I don't think that you can really oversell the importance of this game because you desperately need it. You desperately need something to say to the haters, which are many. Like to say good morning to the haters and doubters, of which there are many. I don't know. That's maybe a Trump quote. I don't know where that came from, but it's really funny to me. Anyway, you give the people who are kind of rolling their eyes right now, and I'm one of them. You give the people who are kind of rolling their eyes right now, saying, there's no improvement from year 1 to year 2. There's no real signs of kind of growth or progress. You really kind of get a chance to tell those people to shut up for another week. And I want a reason to shut up for another week. I want to see Ole Miss go to Arkansas, win the game, and come in with the possibility of beating Auburn. That may not be likely, but Auburn's not been impressive this year at all. So it's a big deal. And make no mistake, Ole Miss is a touchdown favorite on the road. That's a big deal. Arkansas is really bad. They turn the ball over a lot, and they're giving up 37 points a game, which is good for 112th in the nation. Now, statistically, Ole Miss is way worse on defense. Total defense, Arkansas ranks 95, which is not good, but Ole Miss ranks 124th in total defense. And so that's something that's definitely something to watch. That's something that you definitely have to consider. That's something that you definitely have to consider when you watch this game, because Cole Kelly and Ty Story have neither one proven to be very good quarterbacks, but the Ole Miss defense has been bad, and so you really need some of those young guys, like I mentioned, Tisdale, Keydron Smith, Kevontae Ruggs. You need Jacquez Jones to have a big game. You need Mohamed Sanago to play well. You need Markel Winters has played really well. So you need those guys, especially in one of these kind of spread, read option, kind of throw it all over the yard kind of offenses that Chad Morris likes to run. You really need those guys to have a big game, and you really need them to be able to kind of say, again, like I said, just to be able to say, hey, look, we're improving. We can't do anything about the talent issue, but we can definitely show you that there is some reason for hope, that we sort of know what we're doing, and it's a big deal. And so what I would love to see on Saturday is I want to see Scotty Phillips have a career day. And that includes his 16-carry, 204-yard, 2-touchdown game against Texas Tech, because I think he can have that kind of game. I think that when Ole Miss this season has committed to the run, and not just the RPO scheme, but when they've actually lined up with the offensive line to run block and open holes, Scotty Phillips has done really, really well. And they almost needs him to do that again. You want to do what you can to kind of keep that defense off the field. You want to do what you can to make sure that defense is well rested. And then you also want to do whatever you can to kind of alleviate the pressure on Jordan Ta'amu, because when you throw the ball into those one-on-one matchups and those kinds of things, you're putting a lot of pressure on him to have to make a perfect throw every time. And Jordan Ta'amu is a really good quarterback, but no college quarterback is going to make perfect throws every time. It's just not going to happen. And so let's get Scotty some touches. Let's, I would love to see him it seems like he's kind of been getting about 16 or 18 carries a game. Would love to see that number get up to 25, maybe even 30. And see if you can establish the run game, and then let AJ, DK, and DeMarcus take over from there. With all that said, a loss against this Arkansas team is going to be devastating if it happens, and that's a scary thought, because for Ole Miss fans, that Arkansas game is always so weird. It seemed like no matter how good Ole Miss was in the last 6 years or so, however long the Hugh Freeze era lasted, that Ole Miss could never confidently just go beat Arkansas. There was the crazy hog and lateral play where Hunter Henry just threw the ball over his head and Alex Collins scooped it up to convert that 4th down. There was the game that in Fayetteville, I believe the year before. Yeah, it was the year before, where Arkansas just boat raced Ole Miss. I mean, just came out. They were struggling on offense, and Bo Wallace was injured. And, just a really bad game for Ole Miss. I mean, there are so many weird Ole Miss-Arkansas games that I don't think any Ole Miss fan can look at this game confidently and expect to win. But like I said, this game is absolutely huge for Matt Luke. Ole Miss has to win this game. Because when you throw in all of the other drama surrounding this season and a fan base who is dangling so close to complete and total apathy, it's a massive game for him. He's got to show that this team is progressing. He's got to show that he is the right man for the job. And I think this game can go a long way in showing that. Obviously the big questions for what his leadership in the program is going to be like can't really be answered until after the season. But I think we can learn a lot this week. And Ole Miss really, really needs to go to Fayetteville, to Little Rock, and get that win, because now I'm second guessing myself because I don't remember if the game's in Little Rock. Yeah. So we'll see. But like I said, there's no reason Ole Miss shouldn't win this game. And if Ole Miss can win this game, it kind of corrects the narrative on the season a little bit, because everybody else in the SEC, with the exception of Alabama, everybody in the SEC is incredibly, incredibly flawed. And there's no reason that, with as flawed as some of these teams are, that Ole Miss can't go and score a bunch of points and see what happens, and possibly get to that 6 or 7 win mark. But it all starts Saturday with a win against Arkansas. So thanks for listening. This has been Okay, I've Got Some Thoughts. I am Chandler with Running Up the Clock. I'm back on Twitter. You can find me and follow me there at WC Rowlen. And if you listen to this and you have an Ole Miss-centric topic you want me to talk about, or questions or whatever, I probably can't answer them, but that won't stop me from talking about them. So send them to me. And thanks for listening. And we will talk to you guys again when we record our regular weekly episode Sunday night.